It is the P and P podcast. We're live. This is the P and P podcast, episode number 2. I've got Dave Palmer. Dave, where are you from?
I'd like to say Kincardine, but I hope I say it right.
Kincardine.
Yeah.
Hey, we're joking around here sincerely with heavy hearts. We start this podcast off, and I'll let you explain.
Yeah, guys, you're probably expecting Damien here, but unfortunately, over the weekend, his father passed away. Our love and our thoughts are going out to him during this time. So just bear with us. And yeah, Damien, we're thinking of you, buddy.
Yeah, 100%, Damien. Karen and I both, you're in our thoughts, and we are thinking of you, man. So, and it's rough patch for you. I haven't experienced what you're experiencing, but I can imagine it is a rough patch for you. So, man, looking forward to get you back on here and see your big old smile. All right. So sincerely, Dave from Kincardine, Ontario.
Yeah. Kincardine, however you want to say it. Yeah.
What, and that's on, what lake is that on?
Like we're right on Lake Huron.
Yeah, opposite. Yeah. Okay, because I have looked you up to see way back in the day of Punisher Waterfowl podcast, the Union 0430. I did kind of check out where you guys are all from. Follow along with the show. Yeah. You all were very kind, had me on many times, and so I did kind of want to check out and see where you all were located there. You're spread out pretty good.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like you get a big experience because some of the stuff we do here is different than what Damien's doing where he is. And like, when I say both of us are from Ontario, people are like, oh, well, you must, see each other all the time. No, like I'm 6 hours away from them. So, yeah. And
sincerely, last year, when he whomever was going to come to PEI, I'm thinking, well, shoot, man, it's freaking Canada. Like how long could a drive be? He's like, it's 14 hours. I'm like, what? Like, I got a map out. I was like, yeah, okay. I was like, well, 17 hours for me to get there. I said, that's kind of, and then I really looked like for me to Kingston, it's like 7 hours. It's not, it's almost the same for you, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
But then if you don't mind a little bit of fudging here and there, I fish, I'm a fisherman. So sometimes, distances, measurements, kind of get skewed a little bit. What's going on? Do you want to talk about, what am I looking at on your left arm?
Yeah, I was in a little bit of a motorcycle accident, broke my clavicle. So I'm kind of laid up for 6 weeks. I'm 2 weeks in, so I've got 4 weeks left of that. I had clavicle repair surgery. It was a complete fluke. Like we were going super slow and just landed exactly on my shoulder and the clavicle, like no road rash. Mm-hmm. Apparently the bike's all right. I haven't seen it yet. Just a complete fluke. So it's, just at the start of summer too. So like the old joke is I had to visit Dr. Summeroff, but I believe you and me, if I could do it again, I wouldn't be visiting doctor. I'd rather be at work and doing stuff in the garage and all that stuff and having the, Summeroff the right way. But yeah, it is what it is. So,
hey, I'm going to do a shameless plug real quick. First off, Karen and I have been on a downward weight loss program. We're losing weight. So I'm down just over 40 pounds. So some things that I didn't wear, I couldn't wear, now I can wear, right? So I just want to Salt Marsh Waterfowl out of Connecticut. Guys, thank you very much. It's actually loose on me. So this is back in March when we started this, I would have not been comfortable in this shirt. So I'm feeling good.
And how are you doing that? What are you doing?
Simply less, burning more calories than you take in.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Good.
Oh, and that's, like I'm just sitting here. I can't drive. I can't do it. So I've been reading and watching YouTube videos and simply put, like calories in, calories out, all these diets you see, that's exactly what they are. Like you go on the Atkins or whatever those diets are where you stop doing carbs. Well, you're taking out a whole food group. You're just dropping your calorie intake at the same time. There are some other benefits to it, but the biggest thing is calories in, calories out. So
100%. You just said Atkins. That's what I would do. I could do that very easily, where I would just kind of cut out sugar, cut out carbs as best I could. And you know, it was kind of a collision, because Karen, we're making 2 meals. Karen's not on board with that. She doesn't want to do that. And she woke up one Saturday morning and just said, like, I've had enough of it. And she did, it's an app, program called Noom.
Yeah.
And something she did before, right before COVID, she was down like 30 some pounds, and COVID kind of stopped her routine. But she's like, you want to do this with me? And I was like, I definitely need to do something. 100%. I need to do something. So she's like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, I will do what you would like to do. So it was kind of like, you know, it's a win-win, right? We're both losing weight and we're doing it together. We're on the same page. So it's just been a positive thing. But here's my best excuse. No, not excuse, my best example. It is an excuse, though. Sort of, kind of. I would not drink from this, my Crown Royal Black, but each shot's 97 calories. So she's like, if we're doing this, we're going to measure and weigh everything. Like, okay. So I get my IPIA ice out, fill her up. And generally I would go look right to the top, and I'm good to go. So I get my shot out, pour it in there. And I'm like, I can't see anything. So I was like, the shot, little plastic guy's double. So I did a double. So now there's 3 shots in there. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like I was like, I would have poured 6 shots, right? Instead of 3 or 3, I barely can see it, right? So the biggest thing that it's taught me is my volume or portions were way out of whack, basically.
Yeah.
Like, and currently I can still eat pizza. I just can't eat the whole pizza, right? That's kind of the thing, you know. It's just, you know, common sense.
Yeah. Did you even try, though, if you're not eating the whole pizza, right?
Well, I told Karen, man, as soon as we make, or as soon as I think I'm a little ahead of her. They give you this chart. You weigh it each day, and it tells you when you're going to be at your goal weight.
Yeah.
I said, man, I'm going to get in that Sicilian pizza with the pepperoni sausage on it that we used to eat all the time. I said, when I make that. And we're joking about when we go to PEI, Geoff, we're in this group text where he keeps building this. What's the menu? What's the menu for shawls? What's the menu for shawls? And he wrote last night, like, he's like, man, I don't want to get you guys off your track. Like, if you're doing it, I was like, fuck, man, we're on vacation. Like, this, you know, it's, you know,
yeah.
It's just like Texas teal. We talked about just a little bit earlier, right? It's talking about, well, maybe I should talk about that, but
no, Texas teal. I am looking forward to seeing the videos from that. That's over the past couple of years. That's one of those things that I keep watching going, that looks like a great time. How do we do something like that up here in Canada?
It is just, it's, well, okay. We got plenty of time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this morning I was scrambling I do coffee. Then as soon as I'm done coffee, this morning I was like, man, it's the kind of day where, like, I feel it's going to be flowing through me. Right. So I scrambled to get that Diet Mountain Dew, and I couldn't find any. I even got down, like, looking in the back of the refrigerator and stuff, and the whole bottom shelf in the door is alcohol. I'm not a big beer drinker, but there's a couple different, you know, little bottle of wine for my mom, and there's a bunch of stuff on the bottom drawer. And then in the back, I did see some of the Bush Light or Bush Apple. I was like, Karen, what better way to start your day off with a morning beer? And she's like, what are you talking about? I was like, yeah. I said, look, it's even got apple in it. I said, this is like, it's a breakfast food, right? So that turned into, I said, I saved my morning drink for Texas deal. And you kind of, you laugh like that. And I was like, yeah, so, you know, the hunt truly, the ones that have been barn burners, they're like 30, 40 minutes. And even if they're not barn burners, after an hour, the birds are stopped. So it's an hour hunt, get back to the trucks, and somebody's got a cooler beer. So we all crack to our morning beer. I said, then we go back to the lodge. I said, and then it gets serious. But I did bring that up to Karen this morning. I was like, hey, what better way to start off your day with a morning beer? But she didn't really find any humor in that. Yeah,
most people do Caesars in the morning, don't they? So you have to have that V8, and it's got like however many servings of vegetables.
Yeah, 100%. They do like Bloody Mary. That would be a good way of, kind of,
right.
That's your, or a mimosa. Orange juice and some champagne. Yeah, we were doing those, honestly. After the season, we kind of got in a habit every Sunday morning We were kind of doing that. But all right, man, I'm way off rambling out over here somewhere. I'm not sure where, but for episode 2, we thought and Damien was very emphatic about that he wanted us to do episode 2, which I said, we're good. We're all good about doing that. And his suggestion was we would last episode 1, if you haven't seen it, please go back and check it out. I felt basically like I'm doing the talking, but like Damien interviewed me the whole time. And towards the end, I was like, hey man, I want to ask you, I got some questions I want to ask you. He's like, hold up. That's for episode number 2. So your idea, for episode number 2 is?
Well, man, I've been laid up. And one of the things I always say is that the collecting world is huge for duck hunters. Like you look at people collect guns, they collect calls, they collect decoys. And because I've been laid up, I've been sitting there on YouTube watching pretty much every one of your videos thinking, man, we should talk about decoys. And because it's such a huge topic. Like you have the people who make the decoys, people who collect the decoys, and then so there's so much there that we could talk about. So I figured, hey, let's talk about, especially with those teal that you've been making, that those are some beauty birds. There's a lot we can talk about with that, right? 100%.
Just got those done yesterday, and when midday here, my plan is to go pack 12 of those bad boys, and they're headed to Texas. So that's later on my list. I'm going to do the spoiler alert and say there will be an episode 3, and episode 3 will have Damien and you on together. How about that?
That works for me, man.
All right. So good.
We can do that where you interview us thing, right?
That's what I got to do. Because I know you guys, but I don't.
Yeah. So, but no, like watching your teal making video, and if anyone hasn't seen it, go to Jeff's social media, his Instagram, his YouTube, and look at the decoys he has. And the biggest thing I noticed is that no two are the same. Really, like they're different head positions, and just by a little cut here or a little cut there, they all look just a little bit different. And I think there's beauty in that. Is that fair to say? Like,
no, 100%. George Williams was a big influencer of me way back in the day. And he's like, if you're making something, why would you not make each one, even though they're all teal, all scoter, all whatever the bird is, why would you make them all the same? And always kind of, again, even if it's just a little tweak here, hit up, down, whatever. Tails, cut the tails, you do that a little different. And even when you go to carve the bodies, they all don't look alike.
No. And that's something that when I'm hunting, I actually like that in my spread. I like the variety of the birds. Just, you don't have, 24 birds that all look the same with they're all feeding or they're all preening or whatever. You got a lot of variety, because if you look at actual ducks out in the water, they're all moving and doing something different. So that's the thing I really like about the collectible decoys, is just seeing everyone's little take on how to do it just a little bit different, right? Mm-hmm. The biggest thing that I saw with yours was when you made that, you took 2 heads that were pretty much exactly the same, and you just cut where it connects to the body, you just cut it on a little bit of an angle, and it added a bit of variety there. So
that good. I was gonna say that and or the shelf on the body, angle that a little bit, or change the, if this is my, I should have it. I do here. Wait a minute. Here is this is an Upper Bay Havre Gray style surf scoter. Pat Vincenti carved this, but where I was trying to go is like, even if the bottom of the head is the same on all of them, but the height of where you're going to cut where the head gets mounted. How about that? That's a big difference. Here is happens to be, there's a George Williams teal where it's funky. It's just funky as can be.
Yeah.
This happens to be this one is what's the story behind this? This George Williams was the honorary chairman of the Havre Gray Decoy Festival. The 25th, I can't remember what year it was, but they just 25, and we just had number 40, I guess. Anyway, they were solid cedar. They're not rigged up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just little tweaks, little changes. It's just, you really can animate something that's not animated at all, right?
Yeah. And that's something that I love the beauty of it. And kind of sitting here, I have a group chat with a couple of my buddies. And one of the things I said is, you know what, like for teal, I got this nice little teal pond. I could sit and make, once I'm all healed up, I could sit and make 6 or 8 of them and have my own spread. And what better than having 6 or 8 decoys that I made, a duck call that I made, like a dog that I trained. It just kind of puts it all together for me. And that's why I thought, you know what? I got you one-on-one. I'm going to start asking you some questions about getting into this decoy carving.
We can
do what I mean?
I'm going to say this just real quick, interjected. That was one of my attractions in the beginning, was to make something that you can actually use, that you're actually going to attract, in my case, not really geese, in my case, ducks and brant.
Yeah.
That was my biggest, the biggest attraction was like, wow, this is going to be something I'm going to make, have fun with it. And then, go out and shoot some birds over.
And that's what got you into it, right? Is just
100%.
The fact that doing it yourself. And how long have you been doing this?
I have, and they're out in the paint room. And I wish I would have taken better care of them. I really, really do. I think it was out of a Ducks Unlimited magazine, and they happened to be blue wing teal. Was the green wing, blue wing, pretty close, but they were actually, they wanted them to be painted as blue wings. But it showed you how you could go and go to the hardware store, grab yourself 2x6s, screw them together. That was going to be your body. Go buy some 1x and glue that together for the heads, and kind of a crude. Well, at least especially for me, being the very first bird, very, very crude. But at the same time, I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. I want to say those were, I believe, 1989. If it wasn't 89, it was 90.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. So that was the first, and just kind of, I won't say it spiraled out of control. You can look above me. There's a few hanging. I can't say necessarily really spiral out of control, but definitely, kind of went into it full, with full force. I don't know what kind of, I talked when Karen and I were sitting here talking back and forth doing a podcast recently. I don't know what it would be called in my personality, but like, it seems like I won't say extreme. I'm not like an extreme sports guy, but whatever I do, I want to do it to the extreme. Right. So yeah, it just took off where I really wanted to get better. And then I found out, hey, you can go enter contests with these things. And then then it really kind of went out of control.
But woodworking is a huge part of the duck hunting world, right? Like you look 100%. At people make decoys, they make their blinds. Some guys make their own little pirogues, whatever you call it, like boats, right? Mm-hmm. Skiffs, yeah. And then even duck boxes for nesting, right? Like there's a lot of stuff that a good woodworker can do, and the decoy side of it is kind of the one that really interests me. So yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I don't consider myself to be an artist. So most recently with these teal, got into a little bit of a habit. It actually really, obviously there's other reasons too, but honestly, it kind of helps me keep going. Where I'm trying to go with this is I went live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube quite a bit while I've been painting these decoys. And again, it just kind of keeps me on task where I'm, sitting there. I know somebody potentially could be watching me. So it makes me, I won't say focus, but it definitely keeps me on task, that I'm not distracted with, hey, I'll take a phone call, whatever, the phone's being used or whatever.
Yeah.
But people had said, focus, get back in. People had said, oh man, that's like, you're an artist. That's art. Decoys are one of 7, I believe, true American folk arts. Like quilting is one of them. Decoys is definitely one of them. I don't know the rest of it, but quilting and decoys, are American folk arts. I think there's 7 of them. But I've never, again, I'm not an artist. I can't draw. I couldn't paint a picture. I can draw and I can paint a picture, but not like an artist, what I consider to be an artist would, right? But the decoy, it's again, if somebody shows me how to do something, I think I could try to reproduce it. And that's kind of where, even though it is an art form, I don't consider myself to be an artist.
Yeah. And it's one of those things too, that the more you do it, the better you're going to get. Right. And
100%.
some people have to, like, your first bird might not look the greatest, but I've seen people hunt over Javex bottles at the same time. So, don't be too critical and too hard on yourself. Right.
All right. So
no, I was just going to transient from there. Like, so if I wanted to start getting into it, but what tools would I get to? Because when I watch your videos, I see it looks like a Fordham, and you got the nice like ventilation and all these tools that you're using. But what would be the basic set if I was trying to get into it right now? How would you go about that?
Well, before I answer that question, you need to answer a question for me.
Uh-oh.
For all of us south of the border, what the hell is JVAX?
Is what?
JVAX?
Javex?
Yeah.
Javex?
Yeah, what's that, man?
Like bleach bottles.
Okay.
It's just
Clorox.
a white
Clorox.
Clorox. Yeah. Same stuff, different drug. I almost said something else, but I'm trying to not swear. Yeah. I call it Javex bottles, milk cartons, whatever you want to say. Like
copy. Okay. All right. I just was like, you said that, I'm like thinking, I don't know what you're talking about. So maybe I would just clarify that for everyone else that is probably not listening or watching on YouTube. Where am I going with this? So I got pictures texted me this morning. Fred West he's painting his first pintail. He had a bunch of my teal. He brought a bunch of the teal back the other day, and he said, I want to trade these teal in for pintail. I'm painting pintail next. So I gave him 3 different, one of mine, George Williams, and somebody else. I can't remember what the third one was. But anyway, he's got pintails, and he's, we talked last night about it, and he did kind of update me on some pictures this morning that basically Fred definitely thinks he's not an artist, right? But I said, yeah, it's once you get in, once it looks, again, like for everyone on YouTube here, does that look difficult? No, like
painting.
Yeah, the painting aspect of it.
Man, the closest I get to painting is crayons, but
yeah, but I mean, like if for somebody that's never painted before, to me that's pretty complex, right? But like when you break it down, it's really not. You're gonna paint the rump first. You're gonna do your top, and you come back and you're gonna do some detail. You're gonna detail up through the back. You're gonna put your primaries in, and it just kind of keeps it just builds on it, right? And then Fred was down the other day, and we just had a little conversation about it. I was like, he was very intimidated about trying to do pintails. Mm-hmm. And I said, just break it down. It's not his teal he just finished looked good. And I said, it's not really. Again, if you just kind of try to simplify this, it's not that complicated. It really is not. And again, somebody that's an artist can make it look. George can paint a painting. He's an abstract artist. Truly, is what he would tell you if he was here with us. So, but I'm not.
Yeah, but looking at how simplistic some of those paint schemes are, last year or 2 years ago, I bought my daughter some of those Dixie Decoys for her to paint. Yep. Right. And then you look at the paint job. We went with bluebills and canvas backs, and you look at the paint scheme on them, and it's like you paint the whole thing white, you put some black on the tail, you put some black on the chest, and that's pretty close to. I mean, by the 8th or 9th one, we started doing some dry brushing and putting a little bit of gray here and there just to see, but like it's very simplistic. You don't have to go if they're close enough to see the details of the feathers. I'm hoping you're shooting by then.
100%. And I told Fred, like with this pintail, I was like, man, don't make it complicated. It's not. You can be very. I'm going to rewind. Transition to a goose. He made some geese, right? He made some Canadas, and he was really. I have something else I want to say about Canada goose decoys. I'll say this first. And actually, Geoff just texted me, but Geoff was in the loop kind of with the Fred's making geese. So Jeff just started sending me these like really simply block painted Canada geese that look really good. So I was like, Fred, instead of like, don't make this complicated, right? And he's got his Bigfoot decoys, his floaters. He's got some other people's birds there, and they really turned out nice. But he just basically kind of block painted them, and they look really nice. And again, so simple was the best way to go for those geese. And I said the same thing for the pintail. I said, just man, don't complicate it. Just take your time with them, and if for nothing else, too, be subtle. Don't any of this detail that when you're painting on it, don't make it. Don't make it that complicated. Make it very subtle changes. You don't want it. I can't speak in an artistic. What's the word I want to say? Yeah. I can't speak artistically of like how many shades lighter it should be, but it shouldn't be a great color shade. I don't know what I want to say. My point is, yeah, but my point is like when you do the primaries, if you're going to use burnt umber and black for the primaries, just make for the detail in the primary, just don't make it like white, right? Just make it like a subtle change of the primary color, right? Subtle change, right? Not like this harsh, hard break. And that's what I was trying. I don't know if I got if that made sense or not, but that's what I was really trying to explain to him. Like just be easy with it, and just be subtle.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. And I'm all over the place this morning. It is flowing through me.
Did you have that apple drink?
No, I didn't. No.
Yeah.
No. I'm going to segue. Like started off this morning talking. Like Karen was still here, and we're talking with the builder. We need to go get the building permits for PBHQ, and like it just started off like I made a list of my rest of my decoys I need to make for the end of summer because time's flying by. We looked at a calendar of just a big calendar of like once I get to October, and I really know I'm going to remember to answer your question. I still want to talk about campaigns. You know what? I'm not hot, but I'm a hot mess, man. I'm going to take another drink of Diet too.
See,
go what?
I just can't stop laughing. It like half hurts to laugh. So
I'm sorry.
No, keep going. It's good. It's good. But
when October 1st gets here, I'm going to be pretty much done. So, hey, the building will be built in July. Well, the building ain't getting built in July. We're midway, and it could take 4 weeks to get this building permit. Okay, that's in mid-August, and I can just see it. And he said, "Hey, we'll do it in August." Now I can see, well, it's probably going to be in September, and then so it's kind of worrying me a little bit. But all right, rewind to Canada Goose decoys.
Yep.
I just listened to the Punisher's Union 0430 podcast, episode 103. I was going to say 1 or 3. 3. And it's with Craig Minson. As soon as it was ended, I got online and to support the cause, I got 4 dozen of the Punisher pack real geese decoys coming. There you go.
There.
Punisher pack. And I got that. What's the new bag with the magnets?
Oh yeah, the tote bags that he's got.
Yes. Because I figured I need to carry these decoys around, right?
Yeah, they are sharp.
I don't think that the Punisher pack will get used here in Maryland in September, but they're definitely going to PEI, so they're going to get shot over on PEI. So anyway, do a plug, man. Come on, Punisher pack. You got to be proud of that,
man. You know what? Number one, I want to say Craig Mintz is a genuine gem of a human being. Like that guy. And you look at on the weekend there was a car racing. And someone needed a car, and Craig has a spare, and he let him use. Like that guy is just an extraordinary human being. But yeah, Damien approached him, and he's just like, "Hey, what would it take to get a Punisher pack of decoys?" And then we just started going on and talking about options and what we can do with it. And then Craig made the box design. It was delayed a little bit because it was hard to get cardboard for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But now that cardboard's available, Craig put it out there. If you are in Canada and you want, this is one of the best value packs that you're going to get if you look at price wise, right? So if you're in Canada, Canadian Waterfowl Supplies is where you go for them. If you're in the States, Webfoot Decoys or search Real Geese on Google. Call Craig Mintz, tell him that you were listening to this show and see what he can do. But yeah, the Punisher pack.
I didn't want to call. Man. I just wanted to come in and get it done.
Yeah. No, and that's
why I did not call.
So Real Geese Decoys, he strives to make everything American made. And like he searches and he does his homework to try and get that done. So American made, and it's really a small family kind of shop. Like if you call that shop, you're getting a hold of one or two or three people, right? Like there's Craig, and then I forget the other two's names. You're getting one of them.
I think Tina.
Yeah.
And then it starts with a B.
Yeah. I wanted to say
Brittany?
I could be wrong. I don't want to. Yeah, I'm sorry if you're listening to this. I apologize. But yeah, there's Craig or the two ladies, and yeah, just excellent business he's got going there.
Here, you got a minute, right?
Oh yeah.
And I still haven't forgot. I'm just going to go back, and I'm going to tell you to make you feel better. So Brandy,
that's what it was.
Brandy, number one, and number two is Tina. I knew Tina.
Yeah. I was thinking we do a Punisher hunt camps, and Brittany is we're doing a co-ed camp, and Brittany is the guide for the ladies' side. That's what it was.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, Brandy. I apologize.
It's no worries. Yeah. And you said about value, you didn't bring this part up, because I will say this. In US dollars, the Punisher pack is $65.
Yeah.
And I got free shipping.
There you go.
And I ordered a bag. I got an email saying, "Hey, hold up, we got a better bag coming. So your bag's going to be delayed, but we got I think it's the one with it was the green one you guys I think showed, right?
Yeah, with those new magnetic clips.
Yeah. So I got a follow-up email saying, "Hey, we'll get a bag to you, but we want to get you the latest and greatest in bags." So
yeah, that's
all right. Canada Goose Decoys, the Punisher pack from Punisher Waterfowl, and you got your logo on the box. That's pretty badass, man.
I'm trying to think of what to do with the box, right?
It should be like right behind your head there instead of your 41.
Yeah. The 41 might have to come down now. Isn't there 42 now?
It depends on what and how you want to qualify them. How about?
I agree.
All right.
Did you look at that black paint from our last episode?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
I saw the picture, but no, I didn't look it up.
It's crazy, that stuff. It's like as black. You look at a picture of it, and it looks like someone used computer to like put the black in. It is crazy.
I saw the. So I like to. I'm really going to go off. I'm just different than everybody else. I actually like. I usually follow you guys on YouTube, right?
Yep.
Do I have all the other downloads for podcasts? Sure, but I just first off, I get my notifications every time you pop. On Monday when the new one's up. As a matter of fact, I started listening because the YouTube version wasn't up yet. So I started listening to it. And I think within 15 minutes, I got the notification it was up on YouTube. So I X'd out it because you guys were talking about, much like if somebody's listening to this without the video and audio only, I'm sitting here holding this decoy and they're like, what, can't see what's what, right? So I'd rather see what you guys were talking about. And, but by the time towards the end I saw the picture of the paint, but then I had to go change a hose and I had put phone in my pocket and, working on some other stuff, but I did not go much further to check it out myself. So
yeah, it's kind of neat. I kind of want to see if it's ever used and how it would be used. Right. Yeah. I think it's expensive by the sound of it.
It did sound expensive. So somebody much, much smarter than myself can truly explain this, but isn't paints and shades and colors in the light spectrum that's the only shade or color that's the paint does not absorb? It absorbs everything else except what we see. Am I saying that correctly? This might be one of these things where I don't even want to talk about it then because I don't want to.
That sounds like rocket appliance to me.
I'm stupid already. I don't want to be any stupider.
No, no, that's about me. That's rocket appliance. So
I think there is some truth to that because supposedly the military had a paint that absorbed all the colors in the light spectrum prism, and then because it absorbed it all, it appeared to be that it wasn't there. It appeared to be invisible.
Wow.
Yeah, but that may be actually with the black paint is black. It made me think about there's some paint that the government designed that like military design that like it absorbs like 99% of all light. And therefore it like almost becomes invisible.
That's crazy.
I should Google.
Yeah.
I can't. What would I even Google? I had to look last night. I had to Google young Tanya Tucker to see what she looked like. That was my latest paint that absorbs all light or light. I don't know. Is that the car?
I don't think that's the one that they have, but that looks pretty.
It absorbs. It's the world's darkest material, and it absorbs 99.965 of all visible perpendicular, all light visible perpendicular to the object. So there is something to that. All right, that's enough.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I can't speak intelligently about it, so something. All right, let's get back. Carving tools. That's what you said, right?
Just getting into it. Like, what do I need to get into it?
So I tell everybody that if you don't have one, you need to have access to a bandsaw. Okay. In my case, I have it doesn't really matter the brand, but I do advise mine happens to be a Delta 14-inch. There's a lot of 14-inch saws out there. I like to get the riser block that you can add, and it makes your blade 105 inches.
Yep.
So that would be the doesn't have to be a Delta, but I would definitely go with a 14-inch that you have a riser block, making again the blade 105 inches long. If you have the money to do it, I would strongly suggest a Fordham tool. I have some people I know that try to do with Dremel, and Dremel's just not the same thing. No. A Fordham tool, if someone's not, Mountain Dew's, I'm feeling it. A Fordham tool would be the old. Maybe some people say that I'm really old because they've never experienced this, but if back in the day when you went to the dentist, there was a foot pedal on the floor, and he had this motor hanging here with this shafted tool that they're in there grinding. I don't have any fillings, but if they were going to grind that, so it's kind of a takeoff on that, where it's basically you have a foot pedal, you have a motor that hangs, you have actually a pretty durable cable that comes down to a handpiece that you then put all your cutters into the handpiece. So that's what a Fordham tool is. I think there's a kind of a different brand, a Wetcher or something. Anyway, Fordham's the one I would suggest. And I go with the most aggressive cutters on there. There's everything out. I can't say everything is out there, but there are many, 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 many cutters for you to choose from. That, sanders, carving knives. Way back in the day, I would use a knife on basically just cutting out the bill, carving the bill. But today's, I mostly speed. I Fordham tool them out, and you can still, even like how you would use your knife to carve the bill, you put the right cutter in the Fordham, and you can really do the same thing. I do go back and take a wood burner, and I burn the edges of my bill in. The bill meets the face. So we got a bandsaw. We've got your Fordham tool. If you kind of want to go like truly kind of entry level, man, I had this, and I don't know, Karen, she was sitting here, she could tell you, but basically they are, I don't know the guy, I can't remember who it was. He was from down south, sent me basically their horse hoof files. Those things are great, man. I've not done them on wood, but on cork bodies, man, that these things they got to be pushing 2.5 inches wide, 14, 15 inches long, and they're just aggressive as can be. And I found myself on those teal, or actually, no, not on the teal, on the bigger bodied. I did a couple surf scoters recently and goldeneye. And just to kind of help me do the backs real quick, even though I had the power tool for them sitting there right by my side, I just grabbed the hand tool and went that way with it. So there's a bunch of rasps and files that you can use. The more dense the material, the harder it is to use those, rasps and files, right? You do need, if you're doing all wood bodies or the heads, you really do need to have some power tools.
Yeah. Yep.
Good. I was going to say, ask me a question.
Well, no, and some of the other things, like I've seen guys use draw knives. They kind of fasten it to a vise and use draw knives to kind of get that. But nowadays, just like you were saying, the bandsaw, you can cut out a lot of material with that bandsaw and kind of negate needing that draw knife, right? 100%. That's what I found.
100%. If anybody does get it, check out my YouTube videos. When you use the bandsaw, please, man, if you're not comfortable or do not have a lot of experience, don't use the bandsaw. We use the way I use the bandsaw. Stutter.
Yeah.
Don't use
Well,
the
same
bandsaw.
with you using the circular saw when Jesus, that video. So if you haven't seen it, guys, Jeff takes his circular saw and I think he prefaces it with, "Don't do what I do," and just zoop, and then he's flipping the wood as he's using the circular saw. And it
Had to get it done, man. Had to get it done.
had to get it done. Yeah. So
Back in our industrial middle schools, there was this. You watched this video called Primitive Pete. I actually found. I think in the video I went and found a picture of Primitive Pete, and I put it. Kind of put it over there. But
yeah.
But please, I do get some negative criticism or negative critiquing about how I use the bandsaw. So please, if you go and watch it, like just be careful for sure.
Yeah, it's a tool, and every tool has its inherent risks, right?
Yeah.
So
remember this too: only the front side of the blade can cut you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or what I used to always tell guys too: when you go to the grocery store, you look back in the meat counter. What are they cutting the meat with? Bandsaw. So be careful.
Yeah, that's good. So what materials would you start with? Would you start with cork or would you go to cedar? Like
in today's world, actually, I just looked up for PBHQ, the 2-inch pink foam. We're gonna be using a lot of that under the concrete with radiant heat. But I'm out of touch really with foam prices. But I know guys used to go to like Home Depot or Lowe's or Canadian Tire and buy like the just siding insulation, blue insulation kind of stuff, and they glue it up and take their rasp and work it up. I think, and I've always told people this, if I was going to go through the effort to do the foam, I would just go ahead and get myself a piece of cork, because whatever you do make, even cork is not the strongest material. Cork's not wood, right? But cork's definitely stronger than foam. So if you're going to take the time to really make this thing, I would say try to do, even if you found black cork versus tan cork, I would just dive right in and do cork. I wouldn't mess with foam.
Yep.
And again, I would think in today's what episode 103, foam. Yep. Right. The shortage of the story about the Corvettes not being in Ohio, not being able to get the seats made or something like that. So yeah, foam's a petroleum product, so it's got to be expensive. Everything's expensive, right? Yeah. Everything's costly these days, but I would think that foam is just as much. Cork used to be cheap.
Yeah.
Do you know what cork is?
It's just basically like rubber and wood, isn't it? Like kind of put together? No.
So cork comes from Portugal, and it's tree bark. So these trees are in the oak family, and they have these orchards, if you will, of this tree. And I don't know how quickly it grows back, but when they go and like basically have a saw cut the bark, and they're peeling this stuff off, and it comes off, and like if you imagine like a casing where they cut it and they almost have like the two half, like they'll go circular, the bottom and the top, go down 180 degrees from each other and cut down, and basically these two huge like halves of, it's like if you took a pipe and cut it in half, running with the pipe. Yep. They have these two U-shaped pieces of tree bark. Yeah. So tree bark, there was a company in North America, a Wiley Cork Company, and they were in Wilmington, Delaware, and they actually imported tree bark. They ground it up, and if you remember the old like Play-Doh extruder kind of things, they had a big hopper, and basically their cork with their binder like came out like kind of like Play-Doh does. And originally they were only making 2-inch thick. So you did, if you wanted to make a full size bird, you had to had to glue two together. They sold it. I can't remember the dimensions, but they sold it a box of what they call duck blocks, which would have been probably, I don't know, 14 inches, 2 inches, 8 inches wide, something like that kind of dimension. And then they had goose blocks, and the goose blocks were bigger. It took them a little while to actually then make the 4-inch cork. But the beauty about their cork is it was in their binder. And I can't tell you what the binder was, but their cork did not absorb water at all. You could take a raw piece of cork, stick it in a 5-gallon bucket. A month later, it has not absorbed any of that water. They made many different types of cork and uses that their cork got sold for. One of the big things was it was bridge expansion joints. So this stuff was weatherproof, right?
Yep.
So went, beautiful, beautiful material hand in hand to make, to make decoys. I'm going to date myself, but a 4-inch piece that was 24 inches by 36 inches. I can't do the metric conversion on that, but you know what I'm saying, right?
We use inches up here for building materials.
Geoff always talks in metric to me. He tells me what the temperature is in Celsius.
So Celsius, speed and temperature, definitely. But when it comes to building materials, like I use a 2x4 for my house for framing. I
learned something.
Yeah. So 24 by 36 is 2 foot by 3 foot, right? Like
exactly.
Yeah, we know our feet and because of that.
And 3 feet is a yard, but your meter is bigger than our yard. Right?
Yeah.
All right. That sheet of cork, the first ones I ever bought, they were $30. But at the end, when they basically sold the piece of property, that sheet was $80. And it wasn't really that long of a stretch. One of the problems was, and it's been a while, but if I say €1, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep, like euro dollars.
Yes.
Yeah.
So evidently, when the euro came in vogue, I guess we should say that probably like minimum wages came in effect. So the cork that they imported increased by 3 times. He didn't get any more cork. He didn't get better cork. It just, his cork cost him 3 times as much. And then I think the story goes, his shop wanted to become unionized, and Marty Wiley was on the older side of things. And he's like, man, the property was worth money. It was a huge factory, but it was a very industrial. They use a very small piece of this factory, but like you went in there and like you just went in this door and went, like it was a crazy place, man. It was crazy as in it was just really cool. Like it was like a factory for like the 50s, kind of thing. And I don't know what originally it was, but I do know they had a huge water tower outside and it said Wiley Cork. And in the Ducks, Dogs, and Decoys days, probably like 2005 or 2006, I know that the business had been sold, the property was gone, and I went there thinking, man, well, I thought that the building would still be there. And I pulled up and I was shocked. It was just like, it was almost like it was freshly seeded dirt, right? I'm like, oh man, like I missed it. And I looked over to the side and there's the water tower was still there. And you could just barely make out. It said like kids had been up there, graffiti and stuff, but you could still make out. It said Wiley Cork. I thought that was pretty cool. I just got a little chip. It was pretty cool. That's neat little thing. But where am I going with this? So nowadays, the cork is imported from Portugal. And sadly, the imported Portugal cork does absorb water pretty good. So
yeah.
I can't tell you the process how black cork is made, but there is something in it.
That's the rubberized cork, right? That's what I call it.
So to me, it's burnt.
Okay.
So to me, what I know tree bark to be, that's burnt tree bark, but I don't know. Like when I cut it on a bandsaw, there's like little hard, like there's like charcoal. There's like little hard pieces in there.
Okay. Yeah. So see the stuff I'm thinking of is like in your duck call, the cork in your duck call.
Yep.
When I go to order that for when I make a call, there's regular cork and then there's the rubber. It says rubberized. So that's what. Yeah. So that's what I was thinking.
So there is a company in Canada, Jelnik.
Okay.
And their cork was always almost like it was kind of like that. It was, first of all, it was very dense. The cork was ground very, very fine. And I could, your reference about oh man, look at that. It doesn't even have.
I'm on my phone.
Well, that's what I thought. Well, this is a Buck Gardner Delta waterfowl. It just came in the mail the other day. But yes, that's what I was when I pulled that call apart.
That's the rubberized cork. That's a Dave Palmer right there.
That is very nice.
Yeah. Keep that tucked away. Yeah.
Cork we're talking about materials, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, when I asked you if you knew what cork was, cork is tree bark, comes from the I don't know what region of Portugal, but basically Portugal.
Yeah.
Portugal.
Now, I was just going to say, like the other materials you could use are wood, right? And is there anything special you're looking at? Like when it comes to making calls, like for a turkey call, duck call, you want a certain hardness. Like I'm not going to use maple all the time. Like, there's certain woods that work better than others. But like you said, you can just go to the hardware store, get some 2x2 screw or 2x8 screws and screw it together and do that way too, right? So like
100%.
Yeah.
All right. I want to say something before I get into that. So each morning, day in and day out with my sea duck hunting, I like to be on the ocean. So we go out the inlet. I'm like just almost like now, I'm just like yakking. I'm just not yakking, throwing up. I'm just splitting stuff out, telling people, this, that, the other about the area. We got the inlet, and I already told them about see all those lights? That's the boardwalk, and blah, 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 blah. So I'm doing decoys. I'm down in the boat, and somebody says, "Hey, Jeff, what's that shoreline over there?" It's Ocean City. No, that shoreline over there, like pointing away from Ocean City. And I was like, "What are you talking?" Yeah, he says, "Look, see that shoreline I can see over there." I said, "That's Portugal." That wasn't a good joke, I know, but they were from Pennsylvania, Lake Erie, and I guess certain times you can see across the lake, right?
Yeah.
And and to their credit, there was this little low line of clouds, right? That, but it's the Atlantic Ocean, man. Like, it's not like, but that's my joke about Portugal. I always say, I'll tell that. If they don't ask me, I usually tell them. It's like, yeah, one day, see that over there? And they're like, what? I said, you can't see Portugal?
Yeah. How to get people going. Yeah.
So materials, I'm sorry.
No.
It depends on where you go and the style of carving. So like, let's say if you're in the upper Chesapeake Bay, those guys are like the Pat Vincenti surf scoter I showed you there a bit ago. They are turning those bodies on a duplicator.
Yeah.
So as long as it's dried wood, really doesn't matter what it is. Now, those birds, particularly Pat made for me, because I was concerned about the weight of them, I did ask him to hollow them, open it, cut them, carve them, cut them in half. And you can put a screw through the head too to make sure that, screws, the head stay on. But like if you could just hollow that thing out on the Forstner bit on a drill press, and he did. But it really depends on where you go. Number one, to the style of carving, to what wood you guys will use. And then secondly, and this, I think it happens with everybody, it's just what is available to you, right? The wood that I like is northern white cedar, dried northern white cedar. Guys, Pat would use basswood for his heads. His style, the way he cuts, they call it the gill. It's not gills, but the way they cut that side of the bill in, they would consider that to be, in Haverty Grace, the Upper Bay, they call that the gill of the head or the duck or the bill. And basswood, the grain, it's still like a lightweight wood, not as light as northern white cedar, but it's still lightweight wood. But the way that they carve with a knife, it's very sturdy. It takes the knife very well. It's like there's not going to be parts chunking out. Yeah. If they would do the same style of carving they do with my piece of northern white cedar, you may have a chunk or two come out. So they would tend to stay away with that. But yeah, my choice of wood would be northern white cedar, just because number one, it's very light. Number two, it's very easy for you to carve by hand. Like my heads, even though I did them with the Fordham tool and I've used power tools, ultimately at the end, I take a sheet of sandpaper, quarter it. I take and put duct tape on the backside of the quarter of a sheet, and then I fold them in. So basically, I just took a quarter of a sheet, and now I've got three choices, eventually three surfaces to use. Not 60 grit paper, and I can take and sand that by hand. And man, the northern white cedar dry just sands so nice. Rot resistant, even if it gets wet, it's not bad, and it's just all around good wood. So that would be my number one choice. I know out sugar pine guys out west, there's sugar pine's more available on the West Coast. And white pine, if you can find a piece of clean, clear white pine, that would be good. The cedar trees, specifically, like let's say to New Jersey, they're a smaller tree. So when you think about when a big tree, when they take it and cut it on a bandsaw, or excuse me, not a bandsaw, although the portable saws. What am I trying to say?
Like the portabands.
Yes, they really are bandsaw, but I mean, I would say probably in a big lumber yard, they're cutting on a huge blade, right, or a circular blade.
Yeah.
Quite often, the big pieces of northern white cedar we get, you can actually see the saw kerf that they were cut on a round blade. And like at Pat's house, and there's a really cool video. You might have to dig a little bit. He went and found these, and they came from southern Delaware. They were power poles. That some of these things were 36 inches in diameter. They were huge, huge freaking trees back in the day. And he got the piece. I think only the story is only the piece that went in the ground had creosote on it, I think. But anyway, they were cutting these things, and I shot video of it. There's like the portaband. There's like literally water coming out as they cut them, but it was incredible. These little short segments. Not short segments. Trunks segment of the tree, not the tree, but the power pole. Pat said, I said, Pat, how many decoys are you going to get out of this thing? Because he had his little gauge, and he wanted the blocks to be cut a certain size, so when they turned them on the duplicator, he's like, Jeff, that's 228 bodies right there, or something crazy, and it was just like from this segment of the base of the pole, it wasn't really that big. So where am I trying to go with this? The northern white cedar trees, get man, it's a good thing I'm not drinking. It is flowing from me there, 100%. I'm going to slow down.
You know what I think this means is that when we come down to hunt with you, or when you come up to hunt with us, I think we're going to have a good time, just based on the conversation we're able to have. All
right. So when you get a piece of wood, you cannot use the center. We call that the heart. So there can't be any of the very center. If you cut a limb, Mark takes his chainsaw and cuts stuff. The center of that tree is where the heart is, right? So when they take and they cut it, either on the circular saw at the lumberyard, or not the lumberyard, but the mill or the portaband, you have to get rid of that center part. So the bigger the tree, the bigger hunks of wood that you're going to have. Obviously, trees are curved, right? So if you want to try to get a rectangular, looking at it through a section of it, if you want to try to get a rectangular piece out of that, it's got to be the larger that rectangle would be, the bigger the tree has to be. Yep. The Jersey cedar doesn't grow as big, so therefore has a lot more knots in it, and it's just not as it's more of like a juniper, I believe, too. And then if you get in the Carolinas, there's cedar there, Paulownia, cottonwood. That's another a good wood for bodies. I don't necessarily think for heads, but I don't even know where I'm at now, man.
No, we were just talking about like what kinds of woods would be good for that. But really, at the end of the day, you're going to be sealing it up with paints, right?
100%.
And that's kind of what's going to give you the waterproofing.
Yes. So here's an idea or a tip for you. You had talked about screwing pieces together, right?
Yep.
Okay. So if I'm going to make, let's say my sea ducks, my scoter, I like to make hollow cedar bodied scoters. And I usually like to make them at least 4 inches tall, 4 inches thick. To buy a 4-inch piece of wood, not the board feet, but it does reflect it. Excuse me, that's the official Pitboss ringtone available on iTunes. Sorry about that. It happened last episode.
No, you know what? You need to make a ringtone that's just you going, lead it, lead it, lead it, lead it.
Lead it, lead it, lead it, lead it. I should do that. Thank you. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So wood is sold by board foot, 1 inch by 12 by 12. That's the way they figure out board feet. The smaller the piece of wood, quite often, the lower the board foot cost, or what they're charging you for. So when you get a big 4-inch piece, they will actually quite often charge you more per board foot for that piece of wood than if you would go and get two 2-inch pieces, right? Yeah. So you can buy let's say I want to have a 4-inch piece tall and say 10 inches wide, and the length is, the length's the length. But if you went and got 2-inch by 10, take and screw those things together, bandsaw it, carve the thing all out like you want. We're going to hollow it out anyway. Undo the screws, open it back up. Now you can hollow the bird out. Versus the 4-inch piece, you paid a premium for that 4-inch piece of cedar. Eventually, you're going to do the same thing. Plus, you're going to take the time and effort to cut the bird open again to hollow it out. So I did I heard you say something about screwing the spruce together. So yeah, I mean, I would suggest or if you had a 3-inch and a 1-inch or whatever combination you want to make the height body, whatever the height would be, it's better honestly to screw 2 pieces together versus buying that thick piece.
Yeah,
that was long-winded.
No, it makes sense though, and that's hopefully this gets people more into it, right? Because nowadays we're seeing more and more people just, what's the cheapest decoy option at Cabela's or wherever, right? And they're just, man, that stuff's not going to last you forever. I'm now of the point that I want to try and get things that I can hand down to my grandkids and they can hunt with it, right? Eventually.
Are they going to get some Punisher packs?
Hopefully I have enough left over, right? Yeah. But yeah, that's something that's kind of lost on us, is that,
100%.
And my spread, if I go out and I buy the same packs that the 4 guys hunting beside me all have, it's all looking the same. But when you start carving it yourself, you get the pride of having it yourself, and you can make it look however you want, right? So
100%.
That's where I'm going with it.
I do think, I mean, so I do get a lot of interaction with people. I would think, obviously all the social media aspects, people reach out, but I think on YouTube is probably because they are, the YouTube videos, but I think that's probably where I get the most interaction, most questions. And there does, I was about to say, like decoy shows in general, especially decoy shows, are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. But at the same time, there really does seem to be quite interest. I have people daily, it's not the same person saying it to me all the time, right? So there is a pool of people out there that are very interested in it, want to learn how to do it. Much like the Peyton and Pintail with Fred West. I mean, I guess there is a lot of intimidation. It's something that if you don't know or haven't done, that kind of thing. That I can see that. I can see it. I can see that. How about this? Here's a quick little story. So I'm going to enter my first decoy contest, and it's the Havre de Grace Decoy Show. I was born in Havre de Grace, Maryland. Hey, I'm going to, the competitiveness in me is like, I want to go win a ribbon, man. I want to go show them I know what I'm doing, right? So black ducks. Yeah, that was the rig bird. And my problem was, up to that point, I would make one of this and one of that and one of this and one of that. I never made there. So let's spin this off into a advice help. I would try to make a lot of one bird first versus trying to make one bird of a lot of species. I think the repetitiveness of doing the same head, like if I have 6, 8, 10 heads and it's the same bird, I think I learned easier. How about this? I became more consistent in my carving doing that style where I had, again, a line of the same bird, even if the heads are different, like we talked about, like those teal, but it's still teal. So I'm still basically the same bird, even though they are slightly different, but it's still the same bird versus me trying to make, here's a teal head, here's a canvasback head, here's a scoter head, here's a canvas, or I would say canvasback, bluebill, whatever, on down the line, a widgeon. It's better to do, 6 widgeon versus 6 of one species, I think. Even though I get that, hey, I want to have a variety, but I think when you're beginning carving, I think that it's more beneficial for you to carve many of the same thing. And where am I going with that, man? I don't know.
No, that, you know what, you led right into my next question, is like, good. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, but it's the truth. My story about the decoy contest. Yeah. So I've been just making these single birds. All right. So here is my duck. How hard could it be to paint a black duck?
Yeah.
The body's just
black.
Yeah. This is, and usually in the rig contest, you had to make 6 birds, and 2 of them had to be hens. Okay. So the bill's a little different. Like, it's not like I'm doing bufflehead drakes and hens. Like, this is going to be so easy for me to do. So I'm go down to the museum Sunday morning. I'm like, I'm here to kick some ass, man. I don't know any of these guys. They're going to know who I am when this is over, because I'm going to get a ribbon. I was totally embarrassed, man. Totally embarrassed. My black duck looked, I don't even know what I was like today. If I had, they're out in the garage, but if I showed you the back, I don't even know what I was thinking here. I really don't. And here's this old guy. I'm an old guy now, but here's this old guy. I didn't ask for anybody's critique. I didn't ask anything. George Williams comes rolling over. He begins to tell me everything that's wrong with my bird. And Bob Bears and Sandy Allen come over. They're George's age. They come over and kind of put their arm around me, like, step away. Come with us, Jeff. He means no harm. Like, they're good friends with George. They'd be like more of like he means well, but like here, come with us. It's okay. But like George just freaking ripped those things apart, and it was just, I was like, wow. I really thought, my arrogance of they don't know who I am. They're going to know who I am. And I was just like, oh my goodness. Now that spun into, but before the event was over, George came back to me. I didn't apologize, but he came back over to me. He's like, here's my phone number. He says, you're more than welcome to come over anytime you'd like. He says, I will tell you anything that you want to know. Again, smartphones weren't, this would have been, those black ducks were probably 94 or 5, somewhere in there. So we didn't have, the technology wasn't what it was today. It's upstairs. I still had the original. I took a notebook over and I said, he said, what birds do you want to paint? A black duck. So he said, this is the colors: head, bill, body, on down, widgeon. Okay, this is the rump, tail, detail, the primaries, the secondaries, the sides, the top, the head. Like he was very open to just sitting there in his shop, and he told me everything. And it was super nice. And I give George a lot of credit for my decoys today.
And at the end of the day, they did know your name because you actually tried. You came out and you compete, right? Like, look at how many people are sitting there going, they might have a great decoy, but they're going, I don't know if I should compete. No, get out there, show people what you can do, and you'll learn from it. At the very least, you might get a mentor out of it. That's something that, we're very fortunate in this day and age. Like my kid, I'm looking at the advancement that they have, like how quickly they can get all that basic knowledge through mediums like YouTube. And whereas back in the day, you had to go and sit with people and learn, right?
100%.
And nowadays they're skipping a huge part of that learning curve just because of technology and social media and that. And it is good and it's bad. Like, at the same time, like he doesn't understand the sitting with the older guys, listening to their stories. Like, well, I can just go on YouTube for that stuff. So that part of it's missing. But man, these kids are going to be coming out with some fantastic stuff in the next few years. Like, right? So it's good.
Yeah. And George always used to say too, like, he's like, man, if I don't tell you, or if I don't tell anybody, like my knowledge I'm dead. I'm gone. Like the knowledge is gone. Like he said, I want to, even though he is very much a character. Like I think there is some genuineness in him, and George can be abrasive. George can be very abrasive, and has been asked to leave some decoy contests before. But I think, but deep down, like, the guy is genuine, and like I said, man, I give him a lot of credit for definitely my painting style. He taught me all about Goldens, acrylics. He dialed me into the what cork I should be using. The cedar, I was using basswood at the time for my head, so that's where I switched over to cedar. I keep up with. I don't know how old George probably. No offense if George is listening, but I mean he's probably 80 years old today. And but no, man, like I keep up with him. Currently keep up with him. Matter of fact, there's a bird that he's got sitting there for me, and I just, each time I go past, he's just outside Dover, Delaware. And each time I go past, I call, text, whatever, and we haven't aligned to. I need to buy a bird from him to complete my collection. I have a bunch of Scoter that he made for me back in the day, and he has I don't have any of his white wings, so I want to have a white wing of his. So I need to get by there and pick that up. But yeah, I try to. I guess because I think I'm a nice guy anyway. But at the same time, I mean, people told me lots of stuff. Donald Hughes used to say he was full of useless knowledge, and like I tried to pick up all the knowledge I could from him, kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's some of that stuff that no one will ever pick up on YouTube. Like, go get that mentor, go sit down with them, go learn from them. That's.
I joke around a lot about the Pitboss World Headquarters, PBHQ, the farm, but sincerely and honestly, like I'm I'm excited for many different reasons, but I'm going to have, I'm pausing because I don't know if it's going to be a great shot. I don't know if it's going to, I was going to say it's an awesome shot, but like that's kind of relative and it's in the eye of the beholder. But I can tell you this, I am going to have a shot there. And I truly do plan on trying to, moving into the future. Like I want to have carving classes. If the pond gets dug, which I need to get on somebody today about that this afternoon. I can dig a pond, but in the years, maybe there's not a lot of water around. My pond is going to be an eyesore. So I need somebody to make a pond to make a visually pleasing, aesthetically pleasing pond. So maybe if there's not a lot of rain, I'm not sure how much water it'll hold. It's not going to look like a huge eyesore. But all that said, sincerely, we have it in our plans for next April. I'm gonna have a decoy contest there. I don't know that the Pitboss Ward headquarters is not going to be. Well, it should be a long, very, very. The timeline, it should be pretty far down the timeline. I don't think we'll be living there yet, but I plan if the pond is successful, I want to have a decoy contest there next year. So,
you heard it here first, folks.
We got big plans.
People don't know who I am, but I'm going to come down to that decoy contest. I'm putting a bird in it, and then they're going to know who I am.
They're going to know,
right?
So that day though, so instead of me going there and kicking ass, I got my ass kicked. So, but it was,
and that's fun.
It is
right. So, yeah, I think we're at about an hour, bud, aren't we?
I think we may be over an hour, and my diet dues is well, there's no more ice, and it's pretty much empty.
My water's empty too. Yeah. So it's been a great chat, man. I went into this thinking, you know what, we're just going to talk, but then I got to learn so much. So I really enjoyed this, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And once again, for episode 2, I feel like I just got interviewed.
It wasn't an interview. No. Think of it as you're the master teaching me, right? Mm-hmm. This wasn't more of an interview. It was more of a learning session. That's how I'm looking at it.
Can I tell a quick anecdotal story?
Yeah.
Okay. So George Williams, I think my stuff's pretty good. So they have a single, well, it's kind of changed up these days, but if anybody has ever seen the Havre de Grace Decoy Museum, and I would strongly suggest it's decoymuseum.com. Get online and check them out. If you don't want to become a member, it's not a big deal, but you should definitely check out the museum. And if you're ever traveling up or down I-95 and you see the sign of Havre, the sign that says the town of Havre de Grace, you got it. And there's a decoy museum sign out of 95 too. Man, you gotta stop. You gotta do yourself a favor and stop. It's open 364 days a year. It's not open Christmas. I think the hours are 11 to 4. So it's basically open all the time. And it's beautiful. It's right on the shores of the Susquehanna Flats where all the market gunning, the sink boxes, all that stuff took place. Canvasbacks by the tens of thousands out there. But the real, if you want to say real, I'll say real. The real gunning decoys, actually, they have tanks, and decorative birds are judged in tanks and stuff. But I, whomever had it wasn't my idea, but I like to enter the contest that were floated right out on the Susquehanna Flats. So the singles were done out, like floating on the water. You stood there's a little promenade boardwalk around, and that's where they got judged from. And the rigs were done out there too. So anyway, I'll speed this up. I done pretty well. The last 3 birds. So they're going to pick the best puddle duck, the best diver, and the best goose or confidence bird. The way that the contest worked, those will be the last 3 birds. So it was the best. It's going to be the best of show puddle duck, whatever that happens to be. And in this case, it was a wood duck. It was George Williams wood duck. They picked the best and show diving duck, sea duck or diving duck, and I have a scoter. And then they picked the best goose or confidence, and I have a brand. So I've got, what's my percentages of winning? But I know what's going to happen is George is going to win, and I'm going to get second and third. I'm like, this was my opportunity to win, and I'm not going to win. I'm not going to win best of show. My scoter won, George got second, and my brand got third. So it was a really cool moment. I still have the picture. We're all standing with our birds, and George reaches on the ground and picks up a pebble, and he says, "Snatch this from my hand." And I did. He says, "I can teach you no more."
That is awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
So anyway, I had to tell that quick little story.
That's a great story. Yeah.
I'm serious, man. I will.
Okay.
I will find a picture. But like sincerely, man, we're at the back lot of the parking lot. The museum's in the background. He reaches down and picks up a pebble, and he says, "Snatch this from my hand." And I took it. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I can teach you no more."
Yeah. Okay. One final question, and
Good.
Don't think of it as an interview.
I think it is an interview.
First bird to carve. Which one do you think? Like, I'm sitting here thinking I want a teal rig just because I don't have a teal rig right now. But the paint, the more I look at it, the paint is going to be just something to learn, right?
Yeah.
Where would you start?
Well, but again, you can make a teal very simple. It doesn't have to be, again, thinking back to the block painting and like Fred's Canada geese, you could make, I mean, everybody can say, yeah, there's a lot going on there. But again, from a distance, it's a gray bird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, but I guess if you, to use my analogy of like with the contest, black duck would be, basically you can get away with just painting the body one solid color. It doesn't have to be fancy or simple. I'm sorry, it does not have to be fancy. Make it very simple. And the heads can be simple too. It's not that. I think Drake diving ducks are pretty easy to do. Your analogy with the Dixie decoy.
Yeah.
Canvasback, bluebill, redhead. They're pretty much, you could block paint those things pretty easily. Think about like the old styrofoam herders, canvasbacks and bluebills and stuff. They're not complicated at all.
No.
Yeah. So I mean, you could. I guess to answer your question, a Drake diving duck, a Drake canvasback, a Drake bluebill, a Drake redhead, a black duck. Those are probably going to be from the painting perspective. To me, the carving is going to be pretty much all the same, right?
Yeah. But
from a paint perspective, that's what I would tell you. Even like like Fred's Goose, like Canada geese turned out really well. Like I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4 colors, and the fifth one is like a shade of one of the fourth colors, right? So it doesn't have to. Yeah. It doesn't have to be
like black and white, and then black and white mixed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
it's the truth.
Yeah.
All right. So I think there's going to be episode 3.
100% there will.
Yep. So we will dive into Punisher Waterfowl and the podcast that is the Union 0430. We'll find out about. I'll learn something about you because I really don't know you, as well as Damien. I mean, I hung out with I've done your guys' podcast. I hung out with Damien in PEI, but other than that, like I really don't know you guys. So I look forward to that part. And episode 2 of the P&P podcast, I think is a wrap. I think.
Yep, that's good. Thanks for having me on, buddy. Good times.
Dave Palmer from
Kincardine.
All right, man. I truly appreciate your time.
Yeah,
I'm glad you made it on, and again, we'll do episode 3. I guess it's going to be every Tuesday.
Sounds good to me.
All right, man. Yeah. Be safe, and thank you again, man. As always, thinking of you, we are. Boom, boom. It is the P&P podcast.